Prison is scary, really scary. What makes it scary isn't the prison food or the guards, it's the prisoners. I'm your host Yusuf, welcome to Crime Time. These are the top 10 scary prisoners forgotten in solitary confinement. Make sure to sub to the channel and ring that bell so you get notified whenever we upload a new video. Anyways, let's get separated. Number 10, Thomas Silverstein. Thomas Edward Silverstein was an American criminal who spent the last 42 years of his life in prison after being convicted of 4 separate executions while imprisoned for armed robbery, one of which was overturned. Silverstein spent the last 36 years of his life in solitary confinement for executing corrections officer Merle Klutz at the Marion Penitentiary in Illinois. Prison authorities described him as a brutal executioner and a former leader of the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang. Silverstein maintained that the dehumanizing conditions inside the prison system contributed to the 3 executions he committed. He was held in a specially designed cell in what is called Range 13 at ADX Florence Federal Penitentiary in Colorado. He was the longest held prisoner in solitary confinement within the Bureau of Prisons at the time of his passing. Many prison guards refused to talk to Silverstein out of respect for Klutz. Number 9, Albert Woodfox. Woodfox is a striking symbol of how solitary confinement and the prison system is completely broken. The man was proven innocent after 44 years in prison, serving time for a crime he didn't commit. One of Woodfox's techniques for surviving years alone in a 6-foot by 9-foot cell was to compose a list of what he would do were he to be set free. Most of the list's items were strikingly mundane. He would have dinner with his family, drive a car, go to the store, have a holiday, eat some good old home cooking. Other desires were more substantive. He would get to know his daughter Brenda, whom he'd had when he was 16 but hardly knew. He would go to the grave of his mom, Ruby Edwards Mabel, who passed away while he was behind bars. And he would visit Yosemite National Park in California, which he had fallen in love with watching National Geographic on his cell TV. Number 8, Jason Barnum. The eyeball man Jason Barnum was sentenced to 22 years in prison for shooting an Alaska police officer. Barnum's offenses were driven by a serious substance addiction, reports The Independent. What made him even more dangerous and intimidating was his tattoo-filled visage. Barnum had one of his eyeballs completely tattooed. The shooting happened when police were investigating home burglaries and car thefts. Officers were inspecting a hotel in 2012 when Barnum opened fire from a bathroom. 2 officers shot back, striking Barnum in the arm, and 1 officer was injured. Barnum later admitted to committing thefts and burglaries to feed a substance addiction. Number 7, the Red Ripper. Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo was an infamous Soviet executioner. He was nicknamed the Butcher of Rostov or the Red Ripper and is known to have executed and mutilated over 52 innocent women. According to reports, he confessed to a mind-boggling 56 executions and was tried for 53 in 1992. And is by far one of the most notorious jail inmates of all time. Many of the victims' bodies bore evidence of mutilation to the eye sockets. Pathologists concluded these injuries had been caused by a knife, leading investigators to the conclusion the executioner had gouged out the eyes of his victims. Chikatilo's adult female victims were often intimacy workers or homeless women whom he would lure to secluded areas with promises of drinks or money. Number 6, John Wayne Gacy. You must have all heard of the 2017 Hollywood blockbuster It, or even the original movie.
Oh, come on, bucko. Don't you want a balloon?
The movies are actually based on John Wayne Gacy. Gacy started off performing as a clown to entertain children and raise money for charity. He named himself Pogo the Clown, but under the colorful clown avatar was a remorseless criminal. Gacy was an executioner and a torturer and was convicted of executing 33 people, usually men, between January 1972 and late 1978. He was executed with a lethal injection in the late 1994. Number 5, Eileen Wuornos. This woman was no less than a monster. Eileen Wuornos was involved in the cold-blooded execution of 7 men between 1989 and 1990. She would usually blame the men she dated of harming her and then shoot them at point-blank range in self-defense. According to reports, Wuornos was convicted and sentenced to execution and was executed by lethal injection. Number 4, Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader called himself BTK, meaning bind 'em, torture 'em, execute 'em. He was one of the most diabolical executioners in American history. With each and every victim that he tortured, he made sure to have an elaborate photography session and kept it tucked away in a secret basement. According to reports, when he launched his first vicious attack in 1974 on the Otero family, he didn't even know how to execute and literally tortured them to passing. After his first stint with execution, he went on to execute nearly 10 people. BTK was eventually convicted and punished for each passing in 2005, and there's a bone-chilling video where he confesses to all of his gory deeds. He is now kept in solitary confinement, waiting for his execution. Number 3, Mary Mallon. also known as Typhoid Mary. She is known to have infected 51 people, and 3 of those illnesses resulted in passings. While she carried an extremely contagious bacteria that causes typhoid fever, Mary continued to work as a domestic worker and cooked for people, because of which many were infected. Back in the medical facilities, treating an ailment like typhoid was extremely inefficient. She apparently knew about her illness before infecting hundreds. Malin spent the last 23 years of her life as a virtual prisoner in forced isolation. Number 2, Shashikalo Patel. Shashikalo Patel is one woman who discovered the easy money that came from peddling substances. She gave up her job of a milkmaid and blended into Mumbai's notorious substance circuit in no time. After dealing in substances for nearly a decade, she amassed property worth over 10 million rupees from the business. Baby Patankar, which was what she was also known as, was finally arrested by the Mumbai police in 2015. For her years of substance selling, she is most likely in solitary confinement in Mumbai. Number 1, Robert Motley. Robert Motley is considered Britain's most dangerous criminal. He was originally convicted for 1 execution, but he executed 3 more people in prison, which got him placed in solitary confinement. In 1977, Motley and another inmate held another prisoner hostage. They ended up torturing him for 9 hours before cracking his head open and ending him. Now it is rumored they may have eaten some of that prisoner's brain. After that, he removed 2 more inmates from the world, which got him placed in solitary confinement. He was locked up in a glass cell under Wakefield Prison. He spent 23 hours of each day there. Thanks for watching, make sure to like the video if you found it interesting, and we'll see you next time on Crime Time.